Hey guys, and welcome back to Chat and Breeze. Oh Lord. Okay, so today's vlog is going to be about, basically I see so many YouTube videos, and the YouTube videos being, you know, how to start your own brand and how to start your own business and all these kind of like great resources, and people helping, and you know, where they've gone to purchase their items and where you can go to get the best deals for bulk buys and all this kind of really good information that's required. However, I don't really see many people talking about if you are trying to create something from scratch. I'm not talking about getting, you know, buying in stock and putting your own branding on it, and you know, making your own tags and putting those into the garments or anything like that. I am talking about you have an idea that you want to create from scratch, that is not bulk buying from anywhere and selling to the consumer. It is, I need to put something together and have it created. Now, sometimes I wish I'd gone down the journey, as hard as I know it still would have been, but you just bulk buy and you sell. But that wasn't where my head was at. That wasn't what was calling me. Calling me was an idea that I was thinking that I would love a t-shirt which is form-fitting, which sucks you in, which you do not see or realize if you're looking from the outside that somebody is wearing an inbuilt garment into the t-shirt. Doesn't mean that you have to wear Spanx, because maybe you don't fancy having the, you know, the lines of Spanx or anything else, or maybe you just want it on the top half, you don't want it on the bottom half, you don't want to wear a t-shirt under a t-shirt, you just want it all in one. Hey, well, yes, that's where I tried to start creating this. And I have got a previous vlog on, you know, tech packs and stuff like that and what it is that you need. But I also kind of wanted to talk to you guys just about how the whole process is. And yeah, I will quickly skim over, you know, and reiterate what it is that I have started with and where I am now, etc. But in case you are someone who also has an idea, maybe you want to create your own clothing line. So again, not buying from elsewhere and putting your own branding in it, but actually create your own clothing line. I would love to be able to advise you as to the places that I went wrong, because you can learn a lot from someone else's wrongdoings, and yeah, it just means that you don't have to make the same mistakes that someone else made, basically. So I kind of was getting a little ahead of myself. I'm not in the industry at all. I'm not saying by any means I started knowing about fashion. I love fashion, I enjoy fashion, but it doesn't mean that you know about the fashion industry. Two very different things, FYI, just in case you think like, oh, I love fashion, so I know about it. You don't, not when it comes to business. And I was looking on YouTube, and I was looking at what other people had done, and people were talking about bulk buying and getting it cheaper from other places, and the more that you buy, the cost per unit goes down, and all that kind of good stuff. Oh, but I didn't realize, or didn't take into consideration the fact that this wasn't something that's already created that I'm selling on. This is something that I'm trying to create. And when you're trying to create something, there really is so many more things that you need to think about, i.e., you know, your sizing and stuff like that. You create your sizing. So you tell the manufacturer what size you want each garment to be, whether you're having small, medium, large, extra large, whatever it is. What are the measurements of that? Well, it's very difficult to say, you know, what the measurements are, or how much you want of one particular size when you don't know your customer that you don't know who your customer is. At the moment, you have an idea, of course you do, hopefully. You definitely need to make sure you have an idea of who you think that this customer is going to be, that you're going to be selling to, but you don't know. So you buying, or say for instance, I had to buy 1,000 units in the end to what I wanted to make it worthwhile for the manufacturer. 1,000 units, that's 1,000 t-shirts now I have to sell. I've taken a gamble on how much of each size to buy. I don't know. The least amount that I bought could be my best seller. I'm now going to be in a predicament that if there's certain sizes that people particularly like and I don't have enough of, I'm potentially going to be losing customer base. And I could have a whole load of stock left in a size that I just cannot shift. In hindsight, what I would have done is so I went to Turkey. I didn't want to go to China. I've explained this in another vlog, I won't bore you, but basically I just kind of ethics and stuff like that. I just didn't want to go to China. I decided to go to Turkey instead. But actually, I did check out some UK places, only a few though. I didn't really get any feedback. People weren't really kind of getting back in contact and stuff. So that put me off going to those manufacturers. But also the price per unit was more expensive than in Turkey. I should have, in hindsight, gone with a higher price per unit and taken less, because I'm very aware as well, when I start selling these t-shirts, this is my first round. Everything needs improvement. It doesn't matter what brand you've ever been to or what you've ever purchased. As time goes on, that brand improves. That brand starts to listen to what their customer's requiring, what their customer wants, how they can make it better. And if they aren't, then they're silly and they should. Thinking about that now, I should have taken the higher price and less units, so I could start perfecting my t-shirts without now having to worry about having a whole load of stock left at the end. So what I would recommend to anyone who is looking to create their own line, make sure you're thinking about those things. Don't just create and get a whole load of stock and not know what's going to sell and what's not going to sell, because you are going to lose out on money. It's definitely something I've had to get my head around. I know that that's probably going to happen first time round for me. I will not be able to reap everything back, I don't believe, in this first line that I've created. Another thing I would suggest is keep it simple. If you want to create something and you want to have maybe, I don't know, one pair of trousers, one top, one blazer, one dress, whatever it is, start with just the basics that you think the staple pieces basically that you think should be in your collection or your line, and start with potentially those colors that are staple colors that everyone kind of goes to or likes. If you go for, unless you're looking to, once you know, sorry, blah, 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 I will recorrect myself there. Once you know that you have a silhouette or a type that everyone likes, you can then expand your colors, and and maybe tweaking here and doing things here and making a nice pattern on this and etc. But until you know that somebody is going to want that, I wouldn't buy a whole load of color lines in that one garment. And especially if you're going to bring out quite a few garments. I've brought out obviously the same style t-shirt, but I've brought it out in black and white. Why? Because they're they're basic colors that everyone has in their wardrobe. White and black, everyone has white and black t-shirts. So I knew I wasn't going to go far wrong with that. Do bear that in mind as well. You need to keep thinking, just reining yourself in a little bit, because sometimes, and I understand it, when you're creating something, you're usually a creative. You're a creative person. So you just want to be able to get all these ideas out there and put them into fruition and see them and all that kind of stuff, which is what kind of drives you and you love. But at the same time, you have to remember that this is a business. You are wanting to reap some financial reward for all the hard work that you're putting in. So remember that as well. I just don't want you guys making, any mistakes or any mistakes which you didn't have to make. So please do note that. And another thing I would say is making sure that you are dealing with people who can speak the same language as you, even on a basic level, because communication can be hard anyway, especially when you're talking about an industry that you don't know about. So, you know, sometimes just terminology of things can, you know, you can sometimes be like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what that is. Whereas when someone speaks the same language as you, obviously they can then explain something to you if you're not sure, or you can go online, you can research it more. When you're trying to break through language barriers as well, it just makes that journey a little bit harder. For myself, there was one stumbling block. In general, my manufacturer was amazing. His English was great. It wasn't an issue, but there was one stumbling block which held up the process a little bit because I couldn't understand what he was saying. I couldn't understand how something was working. So basically it was in regards to the materials. I didn't understand. He was saying that he didn't have any, but then he was saying, well, if you know, put the payment forward, we can do this instead. And I was like, well, if you don't have any, why is me paying you going to suddenly make you have something that you say that you don't have? But actually what it was is that I'd given him a sample piece of material, and the machinery in the factory can determine how much of the threads and what threads are in that sample piece that I had given. I didn't realize that. So he was saying, if we were to try and find this sample piece, we cannot find it anywhere. So he was saying, I cannot find a likeness to what it is that you are requiring, but we can make you this because we know now what the threads are and how much of the threads are there. And so, you know, obviously that's going to cost more, but if you were to, you know, obviously give us the extra for that, we can do that for you. Because of slightly the language barrier, I wasn't understanding. He was trying to explain again. I couldn't still understand what he was saying. So in the end, we just got on a call to one another, a FaceTime call to one another. And it was so much easier at that point because then he was able to show me what he was meaning. And that just totally made a huge amount of difference then on email when you're trying to go back and forth and you're trying to explain something and the wording just isn't there. Do have that in mind because it will make a difference when it comes to some things, and especially if this is your first time around or first time doing something. It just don't put something else in the way that may not need to be in the way for your process and for ease, basically. Another thing that I would do again, if I could, is negotiate. So negotiate. I initially got my pricing. He didn't understand what it was exactly that I was requiring. My fault, because my tech pack wasn't correct that I had given him when he was pricing up. I didn't realize the tech pack wasn't correct because I had never looked over a tech pack before. But that was incorrect, so obviously the pricing was incorrect. Then when it came through what it is that I was actually requiring, the price obviously went up. That completely then was different to the budget that I originally had. I then had already given a deposit. So had I not gone through with this any longer, I would have lost my deposit, which would have been half the money initially to the original price. So for me, I was thinking, well, the only thing to do is to keep going. But I should have negotiated that second price. The first price was fine, I was okay with that. But that second price was now completely blowing everything that I thought in regards to my budget and where I was sourcing things from, and every penny counts when you're starting a new business. I can't stress that enough. So don't feel that you can't negotiate. At the end of the day, they want your business. So yes, he could have taken half, but actually he wanted all. But I didn't negotiate. I kind of was a little bit like a rabbit in caught in headlights. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll give you the money because I don't want to lose the deposit, and what am I going to do kind of thing. I don't want to go elsewhere and have to restart this all over again because I was so far down the line. And it had been like, I think by this time it had been about maybe 9-10 months down the line. So it had been a long process by then anyway, but I shouldn't have let fear stop me. I should have still tried negotiating. The worst someone can say to you is no. That's the worst that they can say. And fine, you're still in the same position, right? But if they're willing to then give it even a little bit of wiggle room, that then helps you, and it gives you wiggle room to help your customer as well. Because remember, that price always has to filter back to the customer unless you're going to make a loss, which there's no point starting something if you're going to make a loss, right? So I wish that I had negotiated. Do not be scared. Do not be scared to negotiate and play hardball, and especially at the beginning, before you even hand anything over in regards to a deposit or anything. That is your best time to negotiate, because obviously you're losing nothing. Let me repeat that. You are losing nothing. You can go elsewhere at that point in time. So just be aware of that. If you are starting and you haven't dealt with kind of manufacturers or the industry, you know, prior to, you can still negotiate, even if it's a case of you're not buying something that's already been made and you're making it from scratch. Guys, I am hoping that my errors and my mistakes are going to be something that you can learn from. Please, 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 please. Just make sure that you are really thinking about things logically and not getting too caught up in sometimes the process and the ball rolling and you don't know where to stop and you don't know how to do things. Really think about, okay, does this make sense for long run? Do I need 1,000 units? That's a heck of a lot to have to shift. I only want to have 100 units. Keep searching, find someone who will give you 100 units. It makes sense if that makes sense for your business. Or if it's something that you can create at home, fantastic. You don't even have to worry about a manufacturer initially. But really think about these things. Don't do what I went and did and kind of look at things online, and I was looking at the wrong things. I was looking at people who were purchasing or making things which already existed and just putting their own branding on it or their own logo and printing on it or whatever it was. That isn't what I was trying to do, and so I was taking the wrong information. Great information, but the wrong information for what it was that I was requiring. So make sure that the information that you're listening to, because there is so much on the internet, is the correct information for you and for what it is that you are wanting to do. If you do have any questions or comments, leave them just below, because you know I will definitely get back to you, or private message me on any of my social media pages, so Instagram or anything like that, which is Chatting Breeze. All right guys, I will speak to you later. Bye.